What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Oxtane, and here's my face. I think I'm gonna probably be showing it in a lot more videos in the future. I finally got my green screen to not look like total dog shit. So I think it's kind of nice to show it. Um, and let me actually move my cam here so it's not like we're in the way or anything. So basically, it was announced yesterday, obviously, or yesterday at the time I'm recording this, that TBC would be coming out on June 1st and the pre-patch coming on May 18th. And then today they updated the PTR for Classic to be the pre-patch. Now, I've been able to play around with some of this stuff for a while because I've had beta, and I do have some videos coming here in the next week. That is a basically like big encompassing guide of like everything you need to know for resto changes for TBC, stuff like that. This is pretty much just a smaller version or a preview of that, that mostly just applies to the pre-patch, and less about TBC as a whole. So this is, specifically that 2-week period where you're still at level 60, you're still rating Nax, but you have the new talents and stuff to play around with. So I do have the PTR up, and I have my current classic character on live servers to basically cross-reference in this video just some of the differences that are happening in the pre-patch, because on this PTR and my actual character, I copied over my character, so I have the same gear, everything like that. But you'll see a lot of differences in the way that the spells work or things like that. So big things of note off the bat is obviously the talents. So there are some new talents, like Focused Mind, and obviously like the ones at the bottom of the tree, Nature's Guardian, things like that. But also some of the talents change, like in specific healing grace changes. So on top of being a threat reduction, which it always was, it also is 10% chance to reduce being dispelled on like your Earth Shield or whatever, or certain things that are on yourself by 30%. This isn't necessarily super applicable in PvE. In PvP, it's decent. I haven't actually played around with it that much on the beta, so I don't actually know like how effective it really is. But it's there nonetheless, and it's a change. And then you have Focused Mind, which is again pretty much a PvP talent, which is silence and interrupt effects duration is reduced by 30% when you have 3 points into it. So that's pretty massive. Purification's pretty much the same. Nothing really changes there. Mana Tide gets significantly buffed. So on Classic, Mana Tide totem as it stands currently is, so it's a 12-second duration, and every 3 seconds it restores 170 mana, which is not a lot. So this is still 12 seconds with 3-second ticks, but it's 6% of your total mana, which is way more than 170. So it is definitely significantly buffed from its classic version, and it goes from a good cooldown to a great cooldown. So Mana Tide. The other interesting thing too is I haven't really had Mana Tide in a while because I've been a melee simp Andy and been, imp weapon totems resto. But in pre-patch, I don't need to do that because enhancement shamans are actually viable to bring to raid, and they buff the melee with imp weapon totems and all that jazz. So, good news for anyone that is also a melee simp out there. We finally get Mana Tide back, and it's stronger than ever. So definitely look forward to that one. So Nature's Guardian is a really interesting talent, which is pretty similar actually to how it works in retail, not too much different, which is when you take damage at below 30% HP, you gain a 10% chance to heal for 10% of your total health. Now with 5 out of 5, it's 50% chance, which is incredibly high. Again, more applicable to PvP, but still definitely applicable in PvE as well. By no means bad talent or anything like that. So it's definitely one worth picking up. And then Nature's Blessing is the big one. So Nature's Blessing is increases your spell damage and healing by an equal to 30% of your intellect. And this is another reason. So tier 2 gets nerfed in the pre-patch down to 5% reduction on chain heal bounces as opposed to 30% on classic. So, and mixed with this talent, having more int just means that, so obviously tier 3 has a ton of int, like definitely the most int out of like most healing items you're going to get. So it actually makes tier 3 even stronger by proxy, because you also just gain more raw healing on top of more raw healing you have. But if you have items with a ton of raw healing and a lot of int, then you actually gain even more healing than you would have before. So that's why, in my opinion, like having that tier 2 3-piece, not really worth it in the pre-patch. It just, like, being down to 5%, and the amount that you gain from this talent plus extra pieces of tier 3 and the raw plus healing they give and more int, like, really it's more than that 5% is going to give you, really. So that's something to change up for sure. Like, you can just be full tier 3 Andy or be 2.5 and supplement those old pieces of tier 2 with things like Grasp of the Old God, or other tier 3 pieces or something that's higher plus healing, and you're gonna have better throughput with that, and more mana. So, and especially with 2.5, like, you need more mana, so that's always good. Improved chain heal is also a huge one, because of just 20% buff to chain heal. Like, I mean, it speaks for itself. Like, it's fucking massive. And then finally you get Earth Shield, which Earth Shield, more or less with this level of gear plus healing, is going to heal for about 750-ish on the target. It has 6 charges. It is obviously purgeable, but in PvE that doesn't necessarily matter as much. And not only is it applicable for tanks, but it's also applicable for you. So on a fight like Thaddeus, like, earth shielding yourself is actually like a good idea, because it also helps prevent spell pushback. So on top of you talenting into that, it's also like a further chance to reduce a spell knockback. Plus, every time you get hit by something, it heals yourself too. So it's also like higher throughput in that way. And in pre-patch, we don't get water shield, so it's even more worth it in like pre-patch Nax, because ultimately you're not sacrificing not having water shield for having earth shield, because lightning shield doesn't really have any applicable use outside of the full T3 bonus. And even then, like, it's not massive or anything, and you're gonna have to like constantly reapply it and use globals on that. So, like, realistically, maybe not that much worth it. So having earth shield on like high knockback fights is pretty key. And then on top of that, you can also either put it on a pumper caster DPS, and it'll reduce their knockback, or you can put it on the tank, and things like that. So, Earth Shield is pretty much limitless, the cool shit and applicable use that you can do with it. So I'm definitely looking forward to playing around with that. It's a shame that in the pre-patch we don't have Water Shield, but we will have it shortly into TBC as it comes at 62. So you don't have to wait too long for it, but unfortunately in the pre-patch it's not there. So that kind of sucks. So those are the talent changes. And so to display the difference, so I have this same exact gear on actual classic, which is basically my full T3, Grasp of the Old God, Rejuve, the works, stuff like that. And I have 1101 plus healing on actual classic, and on the beta you can see that the value is higher with the same gear, which is 1213, and it's because of Nature's Blessing. But on top of that, your chain heal is also buffed by 20%. So If I go back to classic real quick and I do a rank 1 chain heal, you can see it's going to heal for about 11, anywhere from like 1150 to like 1190-ish, somewhere in that range. It always varies, of course. And then a max rank is like 1400, you know, ish. So usually about 300, maybe a little less higher. Now, another interesting thing in TBC that Blizzard added to try to get people to not downrank their spells as much is they kind of nerfed them. But it's not a massive nerf. And I don't know how it is for other classes that much because I've really only played around with it on Shaman on beta, but rank 1 is still very viable even in TBC to use. You may not only use it or spam it like you do in classic raids for mana efficiency, but it's still really useful. Because you get up to rank 5 once you're level 70. So obviously it's like a huge plus healing difference in those ranks. But the gap between rank 1 to rank 3 is actually way higher in the pre-patch than it is in classic. So it was about 300, a little bit less difference. So you can see that basically rank 1 on the beta or in the pre-patch heals for as much as rank 3 does because of the new talents, right? Which is fucking huge. But then if you do a rank 3, so it's about, I mean, that was a crit, so that was like 3k. Oh my god, back-to-back crits. Okay, but you can see it's healing for about 400 to 500 more, depending on, you know, just, you know, every heal like is a random arbitrary number between like intervals. So, but it's between 400 up to 500 more healing than rank 1, which is way more than the upside of it in classic. So you're not necessarily penalized for using rank 1, but comparative to classic, it's definitely something to keep in mind because obviously rank 1's still more mana efficient, but all in all, like, you know, max rank is even more like healing relative to rank 1 in pre-patch. So those are all things you probably want to consider. Thank you guys so much for watching in this video. This is just a small taste, obviously, of what's to come in the pre-patch and just some basic things that you could expect. I will leave a link to the talents that I would recommend using in the pre-patch down below on TBC Wowhead's talent calculator. So if you guys want to check that out, I know I didn't really get into talents too much other than what's new in this video. So if you guys want to check that out, then feel free to do that. As far as what's next, I have an in-depth TBC Resto Shaman guide in the works, as I said in the beginning of the video, that I will have out more or less around the time pre-patch is out. So make sure to watch out for that one, guys. And thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.